Good evening, everybody. So happy to have you here, and thank you all for joining us tonight for this discussion that is going to be real and raw, and it's a discussion on race. We have an incredible group of panelists, and we are so excited, and we know you will be too, to hear from them. I founded the Black Institute in 2010. We have three strategies: knowledge, leadership, community. We call it a head, heart, and feet strategy. Knowledge is the head, and we do research. Leadership is the heart, and we do that through policy and legislation and training. And community, of course, is always the feet, through grassroots organizing. Now, we say that we are an action tank, and that means a think tank that takes action. We have 4 issues: environment, education, economics, and immigration. But tonight, we are introducing our second volume, All Races, All Faces. This is our second volume of A Guide to Immigrant New York, and we're launching the book tonight, but we're also launching this series of conversation of real, raw discussions on race. So tonight I want to introduce you to our panelists, and as we start this discussion of race, it is for us, by us, among us. So let me introduce our first panelist in this round table. Athena Greer is a political science professor, associate professor at Fordham University here in New York. She is the author of Black Ethnics. She's the co-host of FAQ NYC. She's also the politics editor of The Griot, host of The Aftermath on OZ.com, and she is a frequent political commentator and analyst on MSNBC. Christina Greer, ladies and gentlemen. Our next panelist is Dimple Wallace. Dimple is the founder and CEO of Reverend Nation Entertainment, and she's also the founder of Stalwarts Youth Foundation. She's spent nearly 25 years in media, marketing, and entertainment industries. She has been providing her political expertise to a wide range of organizations and brands. She is committed to engagement and civic participation, and she serves on the MWBE, that is Minority and Women Business Entrepreneurs Committee of the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce and the Mayor's Task Force on Education. Dimple Wallace. Next, A.R. Bernard. He is the senior pastor of the Christian Cultural Center. Pastor Bernard founded the Christian Community Relations Council, the CCRC. This is a New York-based nonprofit that serves as a central resource and coordinating body for congregations and community organizations that can work together. He's currently on the board of directors for the Commission of Religious Leaders. He served on the New York City Economic Development Corporation Board. He is also the founder of the Cultural Arts Academy Charter School. He is an author, a developer, and an international leading political thought maker. Pastor A.R. Bernard. Next, Dr. Keith White. He is the founder of Free Integrated Housing and Keith White LLC. Now, the doctor, as we call him, began his career as an educator at Boys and Girls High School. But this was while he was attending law school. And then from there, he went on to be a prosecutor in the Kings County District Attorney's Office. Since then, he's worked as an independent counsel for Pastor Bernard. He's worked with the New York City Housing Authority, HBD, Housing Preservation and Development. He's worked with HUD, and he's worked to develop and build affordable housing for thousands of disadvantaged members of the Brooklyn and New York City community. Keith White is a founding board member of the Brooklyn Combine. Now, that's a grassroots nonprofit organization that partners with schools and underserved communities throughout the world to provide coding, life skills, mentoring, and restorative justice programming. Our next panelist is Carl Hammond Lipscomb. Now, Carl is a policy and legal advocate. He's a researcher and a senior organizer. He's formerly worked with the Bronx Defenders, on Arnold Adventures, and the Black Alliance for Just Immigration, BAJI. Now, he's outside of BCDF. Carl performs and serves as a board member of After Work Theater pastor and is on the LGBTQ Rights Committee of the New York City Bar Association. Carl Hammond, Lipscomb. Finally, Reverend Pastor Samuel Nicholas. Pastor Sam is the senior pastor of Evangelical Crusade of Fishers of Men. He spent 25 years in numerous civic roles, including serving with the New York Department of Youth and Community Development and constituent services with the New York City Controller's Office. And Pastor Nicholas is the pastor of the largest Haitian church in the entire New York region. Pastor Sam Nicholas. Let's get this party started here. This will be a free-ranging discussion that will be real and raw on race. The first topic is about colorism and classism. Now, we've all heard of the brown bag test and the phrase light, bright, damn near white. So the question to our roundtable tonight is, where do these phrases come from? When did they come? Why are they so pervasive when we talk among each other? And what is it about skin color?
Bertha, I think this conversation always has to happen in the shadow of white supremacy. In this country and across the globe, so many countries have been colonized and abused. And sadly, it's not just the physical oppression that has occurred, but there is some sort of ideology that has seeped into certain mindsets where the closer to whiteness you are, the better it is, almost like the white man's ice is colder. We know that historically, at least in this country, so many people were able to actually have opportunities if they were lighter skinned. We know this during the times of U.S. chattel slavery, but also when people entered the workforce, with corporations preferring lighter skinned people to darker skinned people. And sadly, that mindset has seeped into various facets of our community. And we've taken on some of that bad behavior, but that ill-informed type of thought process when it comes to dealing with one another. We know that certain sororities and fraternities are known to have lighter or darker members. But I think that, instead of just putting the conversation on us, which is where it needs to happen, we have to understand that undoing or trying to undo centuries of a dominant structure that has told Black people that they were not good at as them, they were less than, and the closer you were to whiteness, the better off you were and the better off you would be. So I think we always have to remember that the baseline structure is white supremacy and anti-Black racism when it comes to these conversations. And we're the ones who have to fight through it to make sure that we don't pass this down to our children, male and female, when we're thinking about hair texture and features, whether it's noses or colors of eyes or whatever it may be. The shadow of white supremacy is there, and that's what we're really talking about.
We've been trying to fit into this structure of white supremacy, and this structure of white supremacy has in many ways forced us to enforce colorism upon ourselves. It's almost like we can look at a paint palette, and the darker you are, the more likely you are to be criminalized, both by the formal criminal legal system, but by society as a whole. People that are darker skinned are less likely to be employed. People that are darker skinned are more likely to be detained and deported by ICE, more likely to live below the poverty line. And so in many ways, this is a system that is forced upon us. And one thing we know about our people is that we're survivors. We're going to build structures. We're going to figure out how to survive in this land. Fortunately for us, we're at a time where we can begin to break down this structure. We've finally gotten to the point where we have just enough power to mobilize and to start to fight back against white supremacy. And I really think that you say it's on us. We have to break this down in our communities. And sure, it's on us, but it's also on us to fight white supremacy. That's what we're really fighting against here.
I would just like to take a step back and say that I believe that humanity has always sought ways to find comfort, and that comfort has often come through division. So if I can separate or distinguish myself or my group from that group, I can find comfort in being better than them. And I think that humanity has done that for a very long time in recorded history. And so if we look at it within the framework of white supremacy, which is the word of the day, which is informed by capitalism, because that's driving it. I don't think that it's necessarily white people. I think it's whiteness. I think that whiteness is really the issue because that's the construct that's empowering some and disenfranchising others. And I think that if we look at whiteness as a construct as the problem, as the ideology, that comfort and being above someone else, we can then identify ideas around white adjacency. If we can say, you know what, let's completely look at this value system of whiteness as a construct, break it down for what it is, and then approach it instead of it being a value system, but approach it as understanding that it's a belief that some people subscribe to, then we can start to have honest conversations within our own community about why we want to create these distinctions.